International rights group Human Rights Watch once more rains accusations of violence on the National Armed Forces of the Republic of Cameroon. Its last report reveals the raping of over 20 women, including some with disabilities, arrest and destruction of properties, as well as looting in a Bam village in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Also in this newscast, 7 suspected kidnappers arrested in the chief town of the west region of Cameroon, Bafoussam. They are said to have come into the town from Wum in the northwest region of the country. Thanks, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. We're going to begin this newscast in a Bam village in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, where elements of the National Armed Forces are said to have raped about 20 women, including some with disabilities. They are being accused of having arrested several men, tortured some of them, one to death, and the destruction of properties are also highlighted in the latest report of Human Rights Watch on military violence in the ongoing Anglophone crisis in the southwest and northwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Greater details in this report compiled by Immaculate Fogwe.
Human Rights Watch reveals details on what it qualifies as one of the worst attacks perpetrated by Cameroon's army in recent years. Close to a year after the attack in a Bam village, southwest region of Cameroon, the rights organization reports that the victims are living with the disturbing knowledge that those who abused them are walking free and have faced no consequences. Survivors are said to be desperate for justice and reparations. In its latest report, Human Rights Watch unveils what happened in a Bam village March 1st, 2020. At least 20 women, including 4 with disabilities, raped by Cameroonian soldiers, 35 men arrested and 1 killed. The men arrested were reportedly severely beaten and taken to a military base. The report also highlights the burning and looting of homes and properties. Information obtained by Human Rights Watch indicates that there has been no effective investigation and no one held accountable for the crimes. Human Rights Watch Deputy Africa Director Ida Sawyer said sexual abuse and torture are heinous crimes that governments are obliged to immediately, effectively and independently investigate and punish those responsible. Violence has been rife in Cameroon's northwest and southwest regions since late 2016 as armed separatists began seeking independence for the city minority Anglophone regions.
Cameroon's Ministry of Defense and the government as a whole is yet to react as far as that latest accusation from Human Rights Watch is concerned with regards to the incident on the 1st of March 2020 in a Bam village in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Should be noted that the Cameroonian authorities have repeatedly denied the involvement of the elements of the National Armed Forces in the atrocities that have been committed in those 2 regions within the framework of the 4-year-long armed conflict going on there. And the authorities, including the head of state, have said on several occasions that the military is professional and is there in those 2 regions with no other objective but to protect the territorial integrity of Cameroon and, of course, the people living there and their properties. But such accusations have continued raining from within and without Cameroon from national and international organizations who have been investigating and closely following up happenings in those 2 regions. Now to the west region of the Republic of Cameroon, 7 suspected kidnappers have been arrested by elements of the National Gendarmerie. The suspects are said to have come into the town from Wum, where they allegedly kidnapped persons and demanded for ransom. It was with Sumanji Kangebre.
These are the 7 suspected kidnappers accused of giving sleepless nights to the population of Wum in the Mentum division of the Northwest region. They allegedly killed and kidnapped children and adults for ransom. They kidnapped my son, looted my cows, and demanded me 1 million francs CFA. Otherwise, they will kill my son. I paid the money before my son was freed.
Then go kill you before I give the 1 million. Before they leave you.
They had to aggress us.
Another victim says they arrive and aggress everybody, collecting millions of francs from the population, as well as killing.
To drop down, and I lied on the ground. They asked me money, we gave money and everything. And there on the spot, one of our brother was killed there by this armed robber. And in his pocket was only 500 francs that they took. He was killed alongside with his wife, and the wife was a pregnant woman. They were leaving behind 5 children, 2 twins, small girls, and other 3 children.
The culprits were traced and arrested thanks to a 2-week thorough investigation by the gendarmerie. From information we received, we dispatched a team to trace them. They kidnapped some persons in the Northwest region. There is need to disconnect this chain. These men reside in the West and go operating in the Northwest region. We began arresting them in Bafoussam, Fumbot, Banjul, Koutaba, Bagante, and in Douala.
On a commencé à interpeller les gens.
According to gendarme officers, the suspected kidnappers killed those who hesitate to pay the ransom.
Ils vont en brousse avec le monsieur, demandent les rançons. Sans rançon, on ne vous lâche pas. Et par ailleurs, certaines familles ont fléchi.
The suspects are detained at the Bafoussam Territorial Gendarmerie Brigade and will, in the days ahead, transferred to court, where they have the chance to defend themselves.
And civil society organizations continue with efforts to enforce the capacity of individuals, including women, men, and even young people, to help in the efforts to restore peace in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country and the rest of the Republic of Cameroon. And such civil societies, including the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, have been working with women in particular and some young persons in view of stepping up their capacity to contribute in the peace process. Some of the women and young people converged on the town of Boya today in the course of a workshop during which they were trained on how to contribute to restore peace, how to contribute in the peace process in the country. And the workshop adopts the role under the theme, the role of women as mediators and negotiators in conflict resolution and peace building, is an initiative of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. Now take a listen to Barrister Agbo Bala, human rights lawyer, president and founder, of course, of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa.
They could be able to solve some of these problems, because don't forget, when you talk about the negotiator, it's not, don't only look at it from the highest level. It starts from the lower level. The bottom-top approach is also important in trying to resolve a conflict. So when they go back, we expect them to be able to, the lessons that they would have learned, take it back to their communities. Take, for example, that you live in a community where some people like pro or against the conflict or whatever is doing. If you've had some negotiation skills, you can be able to try to negotiate amongst them, to try to see how they can find an amicable solution in a situation where they can disagree without necessarily being disagreeable. So, and we would follow up we will follow up with them in organizing similar workshops or conferences or seminars to talk to them, and it's a kind of, not directly kind of a mentorship, but you would have to follow up so that in future when we are organizing other workshops or conferences, we would have to get some of these participants again to try to see how we can train them on other issues, but also to ask them that since you got this training, what have you done in your community? And that's why we're expecting a very interactive discussion, because everybody who's here is a stakeholder in one way or the other. They live in communities. Some of them are victims. Some of them, their relatives have been victims. So we want to hear from them. So it's not like you have a professor who is dishing out lectures. It would be interactive. The participants and the presenters would have to have an interactive discussion.
Several inhabitants of Tibamba in the Douala 3 subdivision are now spending sleepless nights in uncertainty about what is going to happen to them and their homes in the next minutes, hours or days, as an individual who is claiming ownership of the land on which they have been living for several years now has launched a second phase of the demolition exercise to claim the land with the aid of some administrative and municipal authorities of the Douala 3 subdivision, and the population are crying out to the Wuri prefect and the governor of the Littoral region. It was with Innocent Azim.
Inhabitants of Tibamba brandishing messages denouncing expropriation of their land and forceful eviction accompanied by demolition of their homes constructed on it. The demolition is masterminded by an individual claiming ownership with aid of some local administrative authorities.
Some woman, where they call them Bichaka, na he worry this place, where they call them Tibamba. Don't people them where they need to sleep fine. All man they worry.
Some of these messages read, the population of Tibamba say no to the expropriation attempt, no to land mafia, and many others.
This is the second time they say they want to come and destroy our quarter. We have been waiting for them, and today we are telling them that we are already ready for them to come and break this quarter, because we did not let this quarter to go down. When this place was water, we are not seeing anybody. It's not today that they will come and claim our quarter. If there's anything that they want to do, they have to come and talk to the village. It's already a village. It's not somebody's plot, or somebody will come from anywhere and say, this is I have 400 hectares, I have 78 hectares.
They plead on the SDO for Wuri Division and the governor of the Littoral region to stand for them.
We are calling the government or whoever, the subprefect, to look into this situation. Every day we cannot go to bed without thinking that Bichaka is coming tomorrow. Tomorrow they are coming to Broke. Every day we are sleepless. We are calling the government to look into our situation right this moment. So we are only begging.
We beg on government, say, they try to do something about this matter.
They came out ready to face the agents who had announced a second phase demolition on Friday, February 26th.
They don't talk yesterday, say they will come, today come Broke. So we wait, they come Broke, we'll see. I think all things through dialogue in the worker.
They claim never informed of the demolition exercise.
Like they don't broke people the houses, they never tell them. See, the all thing for houses, they broke all. If you look at this, you'll be very sorry.
Hearing on this matter, scheduled on February the 12th, was adjourned to March 26th.
Transforming knowledge into action, wealth, is still a major difficult thing. It's still a very difficult thing for young people in the Republic of Cameroon today, and experts are attributing this to what they consider as failures of the educational system of the country, which according to them leaves or creates a wide gap between training delivered in higher institutions of learning in particular and the exigencies of the job market, the exigencies of the professional world. And this can only be solved by a total overhaul of the educational system of the country, according to some educationists. Some young people converged on Douala today to discuss this, and they were being given tools, edified on how they can transform the knowledge that they have acquired into action, wealth, and jobs. Immaculate Fogwe has more.
Nobody does bad stuff.
The workplace is changing, and employers are in need of knowledgeable and flexible employees. But a good number of employees lack practical skills and experience needed by the employers who are desperately seeking to give their businesses the competitive edge over other businesses. In this regard, men and women from different walks of life are being drilled on the importance of creating an impact in whatever domain they find themselves. During a one-month program organized by Success World, participants were equipped with skills that will make them better ambassadors for positive change in the workplace.
My name is Janji Winifred Kifam. I'm a nurse by profession. In Success World Global, we have a life transforming program where we are called to make action or take action on things which when we sit as individuals, we make them to be dormant and now opportune to see what we have not been seeing in the past, to talk on things we were not able to talk in the past.
The Transformational Leadership Program is dedicated to boost the morals of youths and equally make them understand that they can become whatever they want in the society.
Here I've learned in this program that knowledge alone is not enough, that they are aware of something. Knowledge brings you to awareness. You need vision and you need work. But most importantly, you also need people of the right spirit. Because work alone, you're working and working and working without the right motives.
My name is Chumolo Liberty. I'm a software developer, and it is said in our community there are so many skills out there, but character is lacking.
The fact that many mentees are making great strides in the society is proof that this platform is creating an impact.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in this edition of the news on Equinoxe television. We're supposed to be going over to the United States of America to meet our guest today in Talking Points. Stay with us. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us today. We're going to be discussing how peace can be restored, not only in the northwest and southwest regions, but across the Republic of Cameroon. And joining us from the United States of America is a peace crusader, Dr. Nicholas Santos. He's a clinical psychologist and social worker at the United States Department of Health, West Virginia, and that is, of course, in the United States. Former spokesperson on health and humanitarian secretary of the Cisiku and Sako Kmer separatist movement in the United States, and he resigned when the war, according to him, turned sour, and he formed the Peace Task Force initiative with the aim of working for peace in Cameroon. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bavia. Thank you very much, viewers. I'm here today again to talk about peace.
First of all, your reaction to this latest report of Human Rights Watch highlighting some atrocities committed, notably in the southwest region of the country, Nebam village, where over at least 20 women were raped and several persons arrested, a man killed, houses looted and burnt down, allegedly or reportedly by elements of the National Armed Forces?
Frankly, Mr. Babila, as you may recall, this is not the only incident or the only issue that has been levied on the heads of the military in Cameroon or the government forces. We can remember the Gabu incident, which is very fresh in our minds and memory. We can remember some other atrocities that the government has taken responsibility for. There are many others that the government has not taken responsibility for. And I believe that things have gone way out of hand and out of control. In as much as I blame the government for doing what they do, for exercising some high-handedness in the handling of this crisis, I also blame the thieves or armed robbers who have been legalized during the course of this war. And you can notice that, or you would have taken note that some of us who joined the protest for our rights as Anglophones or as Northwest and Southwesterners of the Republic of Cameroon, we joined it because of marginalization, because we were unhappy. And in the time that most of us were so active, it was because we were using the peace plan to manifest or to demonstrate our rights or to ask requests for our rights. But when it also went nasty, like picking up arms to confront the country of Cameroon, some of us backed out and we said, enough is enough. We need peace at this time. It is only peace. It is only meeting together, the various actors meeting together on a neutral venue because of security reasons, that there can be a lasting solution to this issue. Without that, the killings will continue on both sides of the aisle. Thank you.
You were part of the struggle, as it is being referred to, and later on you decided to quit, and today you have created the Humanity Peace Task Force Initiative. What's the purpose of this initiative? Is it just about preaching peace and so on?
You must have understand that most of us who were at the front line of the protest or the front line of the English Cameroon diaspora movement, the Anglophone Cameroon diaspora movement, and which virtually became referred to as a separatist movement within the ranks of the leadership. Some of us served, but as I mentioned earlier, when some other group of people decided to contribute money and buy arms and transport to the people on the ground to pick up a fight, which now is a war that has been going on for 4 years with the government forces. Some of us decided to quit. And when we left that so-called interim or separatist government, you know, most of them have been on your show with some of them, like Masha Sofoncha, like Yannick Sikot, like others that I've brought with me. We decided to form a peace task force initiative by which we can broker peace with the government of Cameroon. And we have reached out to the government of Cameroon on several occasions. They have been here. The delegation for the Grand National Dialogue came to the United States. They met us. That was the first time that some connections were opened between a steadfast and headstrong separatist movement leadership and the government of Cameroon. That was the first meeting during the Grand National Dialogue delegation to the United States. At that time, I went to meet that delegation as the representative of the Transitional Restoration Council of the separatist government. I was the vice chairman. And I got documents from the entire separatist government that I handed over to the delegation that came to the United States to be taken to Yaoundé, insisting that there is a need to find some peaceful grounds on which this issue can be resolved, because we foresaw that this can be an issue that can go on for more than 15 or 30 years. And here we are. I want to tell you sincerely, Mr. Babila, that if the government officials of Cameroon listened or implemented the timeline for the restoration of peace that was given by some of us who defected from the separatist leadership, by now this war would have been over. But Mr. Babila, I should point out,
tell the Cameroon government to do, which has not been done.
It has not been done.
What has not been done?
We are still waiting. We have been pushing across with the Peace Task Force Initiative, which has now become a humanitarian Peace Task Force Initiative, for close to 2 years since we handed that document up. Since the Grand National Dialogue, which is a year and some months. That document, the timeline for the restoration of peace, that was handed by myself to the delegation that came from the Grand National Dialogue, that was supposed to be transmitted to the government of La République du Cameroun. That document seem to have been put in a trash basket, because what instead happened was borrowing some aspects of the document and creating another group to fight for the peace in their own way, which is not the way that we wanted the peace timeline to be implemented. And frankly, Mr. Babila, those who defected from the separatist movement, of which I'm one of the leaders, we came out to some sort of find a solution to this problem, because we discovered that some of the leaders were so headstrong, their tone were so harsh and hard. They said no negotiation without precondition, and they said it is either having a separatist nation or there is nothing at all. But some of us thought there can be somewhere that we could meet and discuss and find a middle ground whereby we can resolve this issue peacefully and amicably.
Dr. Nick, I want us to take a quick look at the content of the documents that you handed to the delegation of the Cameroon government that came to the United States. What are some of the major highlights? What are some of the major issues which you highlighted, asking the Cameroon government to do to restore peace in those two regions and the rest of the country?
The highlight in that document was that, point number one, we were to work hand in hand with the detained leaders in jail to call for a ceasefire. That's the first point. The second point was the government forces will collaborate in some sort of with our call for them to withdraw from the territory of southern Cameroon, which is northwest and southwest regions. Then our guys, the separatists who are on the ground, and all those boys in the bushes will have to lay their arms, and some of the leaders in jail will participate in drafting the peace process alongside the government representatives. And that was to occur in a neutral venue, which was not necessarily in Cameroon, because some of those frontline leaders in the diaspora were scared of coming back into the territory. And this was a call that most of the separatist leaders in the diaspora embraced it, because they were to see some members who were key and who were in jail, who were supposed to participate in this arrangement. Then also there was this issue of not keeping away the issue of an independent state, which means the name Ambazonia will not be mentioned in any course of the discussion, because we recognize the fact that we are Cameroonians. We recognize the fact that we were angered. We recognize the fact that we were marginalized in the past. We recognize the fact that the government has started to give some gradual piecemeal or appeasements to some of our demands. And we recognize the fact that there is an option for us to return to federalism, or an option for us to load the contents of the special status or decentralization with some elements of autonomy and self-rule. So it was a give and take, something we were putting up. But unfortunately, some of these demands fell on some people who have their own greedy intentions, because of greed, some who are even sponsoring their own militias within the government to keep the war going, because they are making a lot of money from this war. And so they even created and duplicated our projects, duplicated the Peace Task Force project, and created their own peace ambassadors, where it is killing all the way until surrender. Killing all the way until surrender will not be...
When you talk about a ceasefire, what exactly are you referring to? Are you talking about, because on the side of government, the stands are clear, the separatist fighters should drop their guns, but the military has to stay there to protect the people and the territorial integrity of Cameroon. So what are you talking about? That the military should also drop their guns, the separatist fighters, everybody, guns down?
Mr. Babila, you must understand that before the war began, there was the military in northwest and southwest provinces or regions to maintain the territorial integrity. But a reinforced militia was brought into the territory because of these uprisings, and when the separatists picked up arms, it was reinforced in their numbers, and barracks were created for which those kind of military men are only used to combat a high strategized war with appropriate ammunitions. I don't see the separatists having those type of ammunitions that warrant those kind of soldiers that have been brought into the territory and kept there for all this while. We were, by saying that they must be dropping down of arms by the Cameroon military, we mean to say that the killings that are going on and all what is happening as a result of since this issue began, those people have to be withdrawn back to the barracks or called back to where they were. Whereas on the separatist side, the separatists also have to call on all the boys that they have revolutionarized and handed them whatever weapons they have handed to drop it down so that a negotiation to create an environment that is convenient for any peaceful discussion. Because if there is no convenient environment, I don't think a peaceful discussion can take place.
A school of thought which says that if the separatist fighters were to drop their guns, there will be nothing for the military to shoot, and so they will return to the barracks.
Mr. Babila, we are in essence at the Peace Task Force initiative saying that the government ought to have met with the good intentioned separatists who opened the windows or the doors to discussions after 2 years when this crisis began, that the government did not have a headway of talking with any of the separatists, any of the separatist leaders. But the group of goodwill separatist leaders, former separatist leaders, who said enough is enough, let's open up a way for dialogue and peace and negotiation with the government of Cameroon. The government of Cameroon would have seized that opportunity to discuss and adhere to the timeline which we recommended by meeting in a neutral venue, proper, like now there's the Ghana Peace Conference where we are talking about this, another avenue, that they would have brought out some of the leaders in jail, form a delegation, meet some of us in Ghana, those of us who have left the separatist movement and those who are still diehards of the separatist movement, to discuss about ways and means of restoring peace in the two territories.
Doctor, some other persons think that Cameroonian problems should be solved in Cameroon by Cameroonians. Why have you chosen Ghana and not Cameroon?
The biggest factor here is that the Cameroon government will testify to this, that Cameroonian problems must be solved in Cameroon, but you should understand that the force, the greatest backbone of any country, the greatest backbone of any country, any nation, the citizens abroad plays a very important role based on the economic power and resources, the intellectual power, the leadership power, and all those that come from abroad, which is the backbone of any nation in the world. Given the high security in the country of Cameroon, most of the leadership of the marginalized Anglophones or Northwesterners and Southwesterners fled the country, which thereby shifted the concentration of focus of this crisis from homeland to abroad. This crisis was exported to Ghana, to Nigeria, to the United States, to England, and all over the world. That is why the Cameroon government recognized that, and it's a reason why the leaders of the separatist movement were abducted or were arrested in Nigeria and brought to Cameroon. So, to deny that this problem cannot be solved in a neighboring country whereby those who are scared to return home, as well as those who cannot openly and freely talk what is in their mind to lead, which can lead to a meaningful resolution of this crisis. If the government of Cameroon deny the fact that they cannot meet with these persons out of Cameroon territory, then I'm telling you that this war will go a very, very long way.
Since you handed that document to the delegation of the Cameroon government in the United States, what else have you done? What have you been doing?
What we have been doing is we have been mobilizing. We have had about 5,000 people who have been ready, who are ready for any time that the government may be ready, and who are ready also for any time that our demands or our appeals can be hit to. Then we will be ready to move in, all of us. Because let me tell you, the much talk about peace at this moment is the Ghana Peace Conference of 2021. And the international community has been alerted about that conference, and that conference will take place this year. But we don't know when, because let me tell you that for any peaceful resolution that will remain as meaningful and historical for the resolution of the conflict in these two regions, the government of Cameroon must first of all give its approval, because it's a sovereign state we're talking here about. We cannot go to organize conferences that will talk about peace and resolution of the conflict without the government weighing in and giving its approval, because no matter what we do, or no matter what comes out of such a conference, there are many resolutions that the sovereign state will have to implement. So there must be an agreement for any conference to go on. And that is why you've seen conferences like the Swiss conference has failed, because first of all, anything you do without the backing of the sovereign state, it is dead on arrival.
While you're waiting for all of that to happen, what do you suggest should be done by the man on the street, Cameroonians in the northwest,
right
in the southwest regions, the
young
people
appealing,
carrying guns, and just everybody?
Yes, we are appealing to everyone who has gone to the bushes, who has picked up arms, who is still adhering to the calls of the other leaders about an independent state of Amazonia. They should know that that is a fallacy, that is delusion. Because I know, and for sure, and I had said that before, that we are Cameroonians, and we remain Cameroonians, and we will solve our problems as Cameroonians. Anything that degenerated into putting forward that name of Amazonia was just a manifestation of discontent and grievances that we had against the sovereign state. So far, we've seen that this fight for an independent state of Southern Cameroon is a fight that will not come to fruition. Why? Because as a psychologist and a social and a humanitarian worker for the government of the United States, I stand for no bloodshed. I am against violence on either side. And I have seen what has degenerated firsthand into the legalization of armed robbery on the separatist side. Because most people who are being killed at this time are being killed by their brothers, their fellow brothers. There have been a lot of abductions, kidnapped for ransom, by people who say they are fighting for an independent state, of which they are all armed robbers. Because most of the people who are calling for the independent state, who are resident in the diaspora, are also extorting money from people's donations to pay their house rents. They are jobless. They are shouting at the top of their voices. They have set up private television stations in their bedrooms, whereby they get up today and they make money. They make money from those television stations, exploiting the poor people's donations, exploiting people in the diaspora just to satisfy their own personal agenda. So,
Dr. Nick, Dr. Nick, you're in the United States of America, and you're an employee of the Department of Health, West Virginia, and you have an understanding of the functioning of the United States administrative mechanism, notably Democrats who are now in power. What do you foresee emanating from the Biden administration as far as this situation in Cameroon is concerned?
The United States policy towards Cameroon will remain the same. Let me tell you, Mr. Babila, we have done it before becoming a clinical psychologist and a counseling. I had my bachelor's from the University of Boya, first batch in history and political science. I read constitutional law, then before I had my master's in counseling psychology, and then doctorate in clinical psychology. I will tell you that the international geopolitics and the international game remains the same. United States is a sovereign state, Cameroon is a sovereign state, and all of them are members of the Security Council and of the United Nations, and they are members of the United Nations and represented in the Security Council. When it comes to the Security Council, France is the dominant power as well as United States is a dominant power as well. But you know that the world is divided into regions. Already, when some of us who studied balance of power and balance of power and balance of interest, you know that there is nothing that the United States can intervene directly in Cameroon without running it through the Security Council. And when they run it in the Security Council, France always objects about what is happening about the direct intervention in Cameroon. So the Biden administration will definitely send similar appeals for the Cameroon government to charge all those who are carrying out all these barbaric acts, all those who are carrying out torture, be it the military or be it the separatist side, to bring them to book and to restore peace and order. I mean, those who have been delusional all this while to think that because there's a change of government in the United States, the U.S. government will just intervene directly in Cameroon is a lie. What the U.S. government will do is the U.S. government will condemn humanitarian abuse, will condemn torture, and will tell the Cameroon government to work within the ambits of the international conventions to restore peace and order and to punish the culprits of all the crimes, be they in the military or be they separatists or the people or the civilians in the bushes with arms.
Dr. Nicholas Ngu Santos, thanks so much for joining us today. You are a peace crusader, the brain behind the Humanitarian Peace Task Force initiative. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babila. It's nice coming to your show again. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. Equinoxe comes up next. Have a nice weekend.